Okay, so in this video I'm going to talk about chapters and sections and how you can create them, rename them and delete them and even move them up and down. So let's go ahead and create a chapter, and the way you do that is you right click in the left hand side here and then choose the menu option Add Chapter. So when you click that option, the chapter and section title editor shows up. So here we can type in the chapter's title. So let's just call it Introduction. Okay, and what you can do here is you can basically change the font and style of this chapter title. So right now it's Arial black. We can actually make it Arial. We can change it from 16 to 10, and we can do a whole bunch of things basically. The other two options you can do is you can turn off this option which says show in table of contents. Okay, so if you don't want this chapter to show up as a clickable link in the table of contents, then you uncheck this. Okay, and if you want it to show, then you check it on. The other thing is that the chapter's title, which is this text here, will appear at the top of the chapter. Okay, and if you don't want this title to show up at the top of the chapter, then you basically uncheck this. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Okay, so for the introduction, I'm going to set the I'm going to go back to Arial black, and I'm going to set the font to 16. Okay, and I'm going to say that this introduction chapter will show up in the table of contents, and also the text introduction will show up as the title in the content of this chapter. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. I'll click OK, and here is our chapter, and this is the content area. So up here what you see is you actually see the title of the chapter. Okay, now the reason that I've split these two into two different areas is because it's actually technical, but the way I'm doing this is so I can detect and I can manipulate the title of the chapter separately with the content. So it's pretty technical, but that's the reason. Okay, so when you create a chapter or a section, the title is already there, and when we generate the file, the title will show up depending on this option that we selected here. So we do not need to repeat that text up here. In fact, you shouldn't do that. Okay, so you can start typing. This is just a sample text paragraph. Okay, now when we render, what's going to happen is, because this option is turned on, this show title, what will happen is you will see the chapter introduction and you will see the title introduction right above this line here. Okay, so you make sure that you don't put any spaces like this. Don't do any spaces and put the word introduction. Do not do this, because then it will show up twice. Okay, so let me Control Z will undo like that. And so the first chapter, which is introduction, we've said that it's going to show up in the table of contents, and the title will show up as the title header of the chapter. Now let's create another chapter. We'll call it let's just call it chapter 2, and in this one what we will do is we will hide it from the table of contents, and we'll also hide the title from the content. Okay, so we'll click OK, and in here we'll say this is the content for chapter 2. We should not see the title chapter 2 as the heading of this content. Okay, and we also should not see this chapter 2 in the table of contents, or TOC. Okay, so let's go ahead and render this, so I'll show you what I mean. So in order for me to do this, I just need to fill out the book description, author, keywords, okay, and we also need a cover page. So I'm just gonna choose something, okay, and title page, just leave the title page as it is. Here's my table of contents, and this table of contents, I have another video which basically goes through all the details of this table of contents, but as you can see down here, we have the chapter 2, and we do not show it in the table of contents, and we are also not showing the title in the content, but there is a page break that happens on each of the chapters. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll export this, okay, and we'll just call it test123, and we'll save it. As you can see, I went through this demo before by myself, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the file. Let me just find the file. Okay, it's actually out of the recording area, so you won't be able to see it, but over here, let's see what happens. Okay, so what I've done is I've loaded up my Mobi file in the Kindle for PC viewer. It's a desktop application which is freely available, and as you can see here, we see the title of this is the table of contents page. We see the title, we see the title page and the introduction, but we do not see the chapter 2, which we marked as do not show in the TOC. Okay, so let's go into the introduction, and we see that we automatically added the title to this introduction chapter as we defined that in our project. But where is chapter 2? So chapter 2 is actually, you can navigate to the chapter 2 just like everything else, but you will not be able to navigate to chapter 2 from the table of contents, right? So if we keep going right, so this is chapter 2, and as you can see here, what we said was that we are not going to show chapter 2 in the table of contents. So if we go back here, we see that we don't see chapter 2, and we also said that we are not going to show the title in the content, so you don't see the chapter 2 written above. Just like in the first chapter we saw introduction up there, we do not see that in chapter 2. So there you have it. That's basically how you manipulate chapters. And let me just close this down. And the same actually goes for sections. So if I wanted to create a section under the chapter, I basically click on the chapter, right click, and then I say add a chapter section. Okay, and I can just call it section 1. And once again here I have the same options. I can show it in the table of contents, I can show the title, and I can also turn off the page break. So some customers actually wanted all the sections to kind of flow one by one, and some customers wanted to create a page break on each section. So here we have the option. Okay, if you go back into the chapter, all the chapters always appear on a page break, and that is why we have this option disabled, but it's checked by default, but you cannot change this. Okay, and because those are the rules. And that's it. So that's basically how you create chapters. If you want to rename a chapter or a section, there's two ways of doing this. You can double click and then just basically type in something else and click OK, or you can right click and then you can select rename chapter title, and you can do the same thing. So that's to rename. Now to delete this chapter, you can right click and you can select delete, or you can right click the section and you can say delete section. And once again, to move these up and down, basically select the chapter you want to move up and down, right click, and then just choose move up or move down. So here we have move up, we can move it up, so the whole chapter and all the sections move up, and you can also move it down, so you can say move down, so it goes back. So that's basically about chapters and sections and how you create them and rename them, and we'll see you in the next video.